Female infidelity involves emotion. You will not sleep with a man you don't like. I can sleep with a woman I don't like. It's a completely different thing. I can be head over heels in love with a woman, ready to die for her, ready to take a bullet for her, protect her, give her all the money in the world, make sure she has a beautiful family, a nice big house, all of it. And I'll still that. Watch me.
So part of the way that women solve the problem that you're just describing, and I'm not saying anything for this or against this, this is a purely factual biological claim, is they pick a monogamous marriage and they cheat with high status guys. Now, you know, obviously in the confines of the marriage, that's a terrible thing, but...
That's a very uncomfortable subject, though, for women in particular.
Well, it's an uncomfortable subject for everyone.
Right. They don't like the idea that this is a common thing, that women choose a safe man that is willing to be monogamous with them, and perhaps maybe they're above him in a social class or in sexually, and then they'll cheat with someone who is above
well,
them.
It's common, but it's not the norm. Right, it's still the norm not to do.
My friend seems like a kind man, a white knight type, and his family is quite affluent. So he probably grew up with a bunch of trust fund kids and learned early on that he never had to work a day in his life. He started dating this girl who was quite impoverished, but he didn't tell her about his wealth. But when she found out, he started doing everything I often warn about, including paying her expenses, letting her live rent-free at one of his houses, and taking a well-deserved vacation. He has a family, parents. He is a trusty, entertaining child, and I used to purchase and sell a lot of real estate. His relatives handed him a boatload of money. For the time being, though, he is investing it in real estate and selling homes to build his riches. A woman I met approximately 4 years ago appeared quite great. It was the first thing. This individual entered the workforce at a young age, having been born into extreme poverty. Even though she had to scrape by after high school, she was a joyful, funny girl despite her circumstances. I didn't want to attract any gold diggers, so I kept my will a secret from her for the first year of our relationship. But there's a catch here that I'll get to in a second. After determining she wasn't interested in my money, I spoke up to her about my financial situation. Our friendship was unaffected by this development. At the outset, he comes from an affluent family, and she does not. They'd progressed to different tiers entirely. She was a rising young woman who aspired to be just like him and his family. It's not easy to blend cultures like that. She had been staying at one of my houses for a number of years, and I finally gave in and let her stay there. My home is completely rent-free. Aside from that, she had always planned on pursuing a certain academic major in college. To a large extent, I covered her living expenses, including her rent, groceries, and utilities, as well as a portion of her school costs. Anyway, I found out she was cheating on me a few weeks ago. Unexpectedly, that's a fantastic approach to show gratitude for his help. Keep in mind that he had before remarked how wonderful everything was. I ended the relationship and cut off all financial assistance immediately. The best of luck to you. The majority of her employment is part-time. Rent will be late since she does not have enough money. She can't afford to go to college right now. I'm not her financial provider, yet I still feel like an idiot. In my opinion, you're in a hole if you kept footing the bill for her. You were a jerk when you paid for her previously. You were ignorant and plainly didn't know any better. Sometimes he would even allow her and him stay in one of her homes. At other times, he was taking care of all her bills, including housing, tuition, and food. Or they'd make up a lame excuse like, "You don't know what I do for you," or "I simply want to be your friend." Another option is for her to remark, "Well, he took advantage of me," to others who might disagree with her. He took advantage of my financial situation since he anticipated that I would be unable to repay him. He claims that she juggles employment and education by working as a waitress. I have some breaking news. She's qualified for full-time employment. That's something she's capable of doing. The sheet is a reliable source of physical attachment satisfaction for her. You should blend in with the conversation. She cheated on him with this other guy. Now, if he's throwing her off a property, there may be regulations in place that forbid him from doing so, depending on the state in which he resides. Hence, it stands to reason that he would be well to familiarize himself with the relevant local regulations before handing over any money to her. Both 60 and 90 days notice are required. I don't know, but if there isn't any rule saying he can't do that, then don't let the door slam in your face on the way out. All that he did to attempt to aid his girl was sweet. The man who isn't the a-hole says so here. You're right that you don't have to support her financially. For her to have cheated on you in the first place, especially after you dropped money, is entirely her responsibility. In hindsight, she should have waited until she was ready before graduating. I guess that settles it. And he talks a lot about how he's wealthy and how it's no huge problem in his life. And it seems plausible that he wants to do well. For those of you who would like to do well with your spare cash, he might have contributed the money he spent on her bills and school expenses instead. No, a trash bag with her belongings would be sitting at the far end of the driveway. He reasons that he would have more pride in himself if he knew that he had given her an opportunity to get back on her feet and hadn't stooped to her level, even if she deserved to be booted out. This obviously only applies in this case. She felt bad about the situation, and whether she stayed for another month or so wouldn't affect me personally or financially. If those two things were true, then the article was right, and I would simply be cutting off out spite. I don't want to waste my time and energy being spiteful. Truth be told, you might call it spite, but it's also kind of like justice being done. He should not be bothered with it. You're not the jerk. Another guy chimes in. It doesn't matter if she cheated or not. You're not on the hook for her bills. I formerly lived on the streets. With her, you're doing the same thing, if not exactly the same thing. No matter how well you know her, whether you've spent the night with her or just the day here, she is ultimately responsible for herself. This individual has done you a great disservice. However, keep in mind that, depending on where you live, if you let your girl live with you for free, and you pay all her bills and everything, if she resides with you long enough, it might be regarded be a common law marriage, and then she gets half your property. Keep it in mind. Don't lend them any cash. Don't foot the price for them. If she is going to be staying with you, make sure there is a formal agreement outlining her responsibilities. It's probably not worth it to lend her money to have a contract drawn up unless absolutely necessary.